6:23 a.m. If you're a wine drinker, you may have been trying out some Canadian bottles recently. After all, Premier Ford ordered all American booze off the shelves of the LCBO in response to tariff threats. So what's it meant for Ontario's winemakers? Let's ask Norm Beal, who is the vice chair of Ontario Craft Wineries and the president of Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery in Niagara. Norm, how are you?
I'm great, David. Thank you.
How's business?
Well, we're at a very, very interesting time. It's rather bittersweet because, of course, we're all suffering from the anxiety of what these tariffs mean for the consumer and for Canadians in general. But at the same time, it's probably the best opportunity I've certainly had in my 25 years to get wines, VQA award-winning wines, to the lips of Ontario consumers. So there's certainly a high level of excitement around that there, but combined with all the anxiety that's coming from south of the border.
Yeah, I hear you on that. There is the opportunity, you're telling us. The question is, has it translated into sales? Are people buying more Ontario wine?
Well, actually, they have. And I can tell you that in the last 3 or 4 weeks, sales in the LCBO of VQA wines are up 30%. So that's pretty remarkable. And I think that's going to continue to grow.
How do you have the supply?
Well, that's the next challenge, but we'll rise to that occasion. Unfortunately, when you plant a vine, it takes about 5 years before you start getting any production. Right now, we're in pretty good shape, and we've had a couple pretty darn good vintages. So, winemakers, wineries right now have good inventory. We'll see. Let's hope that we have to go out there and plant more vineyards.
I understand when American booze was delisted that the LCBO put out this emergency call to Ontario winemakers. What can you tell me about that?
Well, it was actually remarkable. The LCBO is a very large organization. We get that. And, they literally came out a week ago and with a product call for VQA wines. Over 200 submissions made by Ontario wineries, and literally we're now getting purchase orders from the LCBO for those wines to be released by the end of April, first week of May. I've been at this game for 25 years. Normally that process takes about 6 months to 8 months, and it's happened in a matter of weeks. So that's pretty exciting. You're actually going to be able to go into your LCBO by the end of April, early May, and start seeing some of these wines right in that section that used to carry all the Ontario or the California wines.
One of the challenges, I think, for any alcohol maker has been that if you're a small batch outfit, that it has been in the past challenging to get into such a large outfit like the LCBO. Does that dynamic change because of the increased demand for Ontario product?
Yeah, I really do. I'll be honest with you. Premier Ford had made it very, very clear back when they went through the retail modernization scope that they wanted the LCBO to focus on small craft producers. This was made very clearly by Finance Minister Bethlen Falvey that the LCBO needed to elevate their focus. So that process was already going on before this tariff battle hit. So we're excited. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more craft wineries in the LCBO going forward, not only a result of the tariffs and this change in the section, but also because the LCBO have clearly identified to us that they're making major moves to do that.
What of your products has really seen a boost?
The combination between the expansion into grocery and the LCBO, and of course this tariff, we produce a Sauvignon Blanc, an Inox Chardonnay, several reds. We are listed in the LCBO, and our sales are through the roof. It's remarkable. I'm seeing growth of somewhere 70-80%. It's quite remarkable.
You have talked about the removal of interprovincial trade barriers, and it's been big talk recently, of course, in the midst of the tariff war. And yet, the wine industry is actually one of the biggest areas to be hit by interprovincial trade barriers. Can you explain to me how it impacts your business and what we see on our shelves?
Well, it's quite remarkable. We've been at this for 25 years, ever since I've been in the game, and it's easier for me to sell my wine into the United States or even into Norway, frankly, or Europe than it is for me to sell it to British Columbia or, say, Nova Scotia. We've been fighting this for years. We've been asking the government provincially and federally to do something about this. This is not just true of the wine sector, but we certainly suffer from it. We actually had a campaign about 10 years ago called Free My Grapes, which was specifically designed to challenge these interprovincial trade barriers. And it's time, it's too bad that it's taken a major tariff war with our largest trading partner to finally have people wake up and start doing something about it. And we think that's happening realistically. The federal government have talked about enacting legislation to change some of the rules around that. I've noticed that there's been some announcements at the provincial level. I can't remember if it was New Brunswick or Nova Scotia that are already in putting through legislation to free this up. And I know Premier Ford is a huge supporter of it. So we're excited about that. That will help. I can't wait for the day where I can, go to see family in British Columbia and see a section that includes Nova Scotia wines, Ontario, Niagara wines, and BC wines all on the same shelf. It's about time. It's the Canadian thing to do, and we're looking forward to helping government get there.
Norm, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you. That's Norm Beal, who is Vice Chair of Ontario Craft Wineries and the President of Peninsula Ridge Estates Winery in Beamsville, Ontario.